So you probably recognize that reducing or eliminating salt in your diet is going to dramatically improve both your health and your waistline, but you may not have any idea as to how the heck you're going to go about it. So in this video, I'm going to show you several different ways to flavor your wholesome meals without resorting to salt. Learning how to flavor our meals naturally is a skill, and it takes some time to develop, but it is worth it nonetheless. So the first category we are going to start with when it comes to salt substitutions are naturally high acidic foods. So those are things like tomato paste or tomato sauce. These have a much more bold flavor than just raw tomatoes or even crushed tomatoes. They were stewed a lot longer, so they have more complexity to their flavor. They're more robust. So some other things are vinegars. All different kinds of vinegars are naturally acidic. So acidity and salt actually have a very similar pathway in the brain and on the taste buds when it comes to how we perceive the experience. When we're consuming something acidic, it has this tendency to mimic salty foods. So again, vinegars of any kind, balsamic, apple cider vinegar, rice vinegar, red wine vinegar, white wine vinegar. There are so many different varieties. You can't possibly get sick of them. They're great for cooking and they're great for baking. I even use them to make ice cream for my daughter. I put them on my salad every day because they have so many health benefits. So not only are you getting the health promoting benefits of not incorporating the salt, but you're getting additional benefits from using the acetic acid in the vinegar. Some other naturally high acidic foods are things like citrus fruits. So obviously the lemon and the lime would be more useful for the savory options. And then if you're looking for something sweet, you could throw in some orange or grapefruit. And this is just stuff that I have laying around because I always have these available to flavor my meals. There's never a point in time where I have to go out to the grocery store to stock up on things for these videos. This is very much how I live my life from day to day. And the final high acidic condiment that I include in my foods is this stone ground salt-free mustard. This is the only one I've been able to find that's salt-free, but you can get it online. It's a little more expensive than normal mustards, but that's okay. It's definitely worth the while when you're not finding yourself craving certain foods all throughout your day and being preoccupied by those thoughts. Salt has this way of making us linger when it comes to thoughts about food. And it also makes us overconsume our calories. So by reducing the salt intake, you are naturally going to create a healthier weight and lifestyle. And I just want to point out that I have a ton of videos on the benefits of reducing or eliminating salt from your diet. So if you want to check those out, I'll leave them in the description box. But for now, just know that you are getting plenty of salt in natural plant foods. Celery, broccoli, greens, even oatmeal has a little bit of salt. The majority of plant foods will have some sodium in them. So you don't have to go out of your way and dump concentrated amounts of sodium on your meals. So the next category is naturally spicy foods and condiments. I love this section because I never used to be able to eat spicy foods prior to pregnancy. Now I cannot get enough of them. So things like cayenne pepper or chipotle pepper. I have this Burberry, which is an African seasoning. It's like an all-purpose seasoning, and it has cayenne pepper as the first ingredient, so it's rather spicy. And then you can use chili powder, red pepper flakes. Ginger is another great one that people don't think of as being spicy, but it does have that little bite to it, whether you want to use fresh or ground. Also hot peppers, if you want to use something fresh, like jalapenos or habaneros or red chiles or chili peppers. You can combine all of these different flavors into a salsa or a spicy pico de gallo and mix that right into your meals. Before we move on to the final two categories, if you're finding this video helpful, make sure you click the link in the description box below and subscribe to my email list so you can get new tips and strategies for living a plant-based lifestyle each and every week. Okay, now we're going to move on to the third category. This includes herbs and spices. People do not think to use natural herbs and spices in their cooking. It just does not make any sense to me. Salt has always been considered like the lazy man's way of flavoring meals because it overpowers everything. You can't taste the other subtleties in your foods and in your seasonings when salt is involved. When you reduce that or eliminate it, you will taste food in a way that you have never tasted food before. So do not leave out the herbs and spices. Use these liberally. Not only are they flavorful, but they're so beneficial for your health. So some easy go-tos are onion powder, garlic powder, and black pepper. You could put these in just about anything and they would taste delicious, unless it's something, sweet. Obviously, that would be a little weird, but you cannot underestimate how important they will be in your plant-based cooking. Also, having something like minced garlic on hand is a biggie. I throw this into just about everything. Soups, stir fries, lots of different ways to eliminate this need for salt in your cooking by using fresh garlic. Also, fresh onions are a great option. These will naturally bring out salty-ish tendencies in your food. So other herbs and spices like thyme, oregano, basil, paprika, cumin, rosemary, mint, you can use these fresh or dried. Each one of them has a different kick to them. All these different flavors that you can combine and make novel flavors out of just by using different combinations of each one. It's such a great way to explore cooking. I grew up my entire life using salt and pepper, salt and pepper, salt and pepper until I got off the meat, got off the dairy, and started realizing that there is a lot more flavor to food than I realized. Now I'm using rosemary and basil and oregano and marjoram and all these different seasonings that I didn't even know existed until transitioning to this dietary style. So by all means, explore, enjoy this process, and get excited about your cooking instead of feeling dreaded because your next meal is going to taste like crap because you don't know how to season your food without salt. It doesn't have to be that way, and it really shouldn't. So the final category is going to be sea vegetables and veggie stock. So most people don't realize how sodium rich sea vegetables are. So different seaweeds like kelp, nori, and dulse, these are excellent substitutions for salt. Some of them do taste a little fishy, I'm not gonna lie, but you should just use a tiny, tiny, tiny amount, especially if you're using something like kelp flakes, because they have a lot of iodine, like over 1,000% more than you need in your daily intake. So be really careful with that. I just use a tiny little sprinkle of this in my food to mostly for the iodine purposes, to make sure I get that nutrient, not so much for the fishy or salty flavor. Honestly, I don't prefer salt in my food anymore, and I used to be a huge salt person. You can use these fresh or dried and then ground into little flakes if you prefer that instead. It has more of a salt feel to it when you're shaking it for sure. And then some veggie stocks are a great option to season your food. You can use these in stir fries, when you're cooking grains, when you're cooking beans, pastas, soups, so many different ways to use veggie stock. This is the aquafaba that was left over from the last batch of beans I made. I believe they were chickpeas. Otherwise, I made a bunch of sweet potatoes last night, so I have sweet potato stock, and I made some pasta for my daughter, so I have some pasta stock. There is a lot of options out there. You just have to get creative and step outside the box. We're so used to using salt and pepper and hot sauce and different ways to like cover up the flavor of the meat and the dairy, but you don't have to do that anymore. Now you can enjoy the wonderful subtleties and boldness of plant-based foods. So to learn more about how to use these salt substitutes in your plant-based cooking and baking, make sure you check out this video here, and I will see you guys in the next one. Hope this was helpful.